Here we go. Yes, I can see you. Yes. Hello, we are gathered to conduct yet another debate, and the topic that we got today is education is really important. And I'll be supporting the motion, whereas Suhani will be against it. We took some time to idea it, and here we go. So, in three, two, one, let me start. Life is nothing less than a Kurukshetra war, a battlefield full of choices, confusion, and challenges. Just like Arjuna stand every day at crossroad, not knowing which path to take, and just like Krishna guided him, education is the Krishna of our modern battlefield. Without education, we are warriors with no weapons, fighting blindfolded. Today, I'm here to support the motion that education is really important. Okay, let me begin by giving a formal definition of education as per Oxford Dictionary. Education is process of teaching, training, and learning, especially in schools or colleges, to improve knowledge and develop skills. Okay, so I take it in two ways. First, let me tell why formal education, which is like school and colleges, why is it important, and then I'll be going on in the informal side. I have around 7 points to support why formal education is important. First, about knowledge and wide knowledge acquisition. Like when you are in school or college, you have a structured path and you cover a lot of topics which you would have not covered otherwise. For example, like biology, maths, physics. Like if I was at home doing some other ways, then I would have never covered them. So it also makes you more aware about your surroundings. My next point will be about career and economic perspective. Education is the golden key that open locks of freedom by as said by George Washington. So through degree and diploma, you get a lot of career options, and you get openings to many job portals. According to UNESCO, 10% of income of the nation increases every year when you spend on education. Also, stats by World Bank, like World Bank says that countries who invest more in education grow much more faster and in innovation and the overall. My next point would be about critical thinking and problem solving. Like when you focus on education, in formal education, you get some deadlines, you get some assignments, and thus your critical thinking and the power of use being with the people increases. This also brings me to believe that social skills and networking skills also improves, because when you go to a formal education, you get many competitions to attend. Formal education also builds your discipline and time management. Like you have to follow certain deadlines, follow certain timetable, respect certain rules, which makes you a better person somewhere, and it makes you very disciplined, and it helps you in time managing. My next point will be about innovation and research. There are many professions which does not which can't be really which won't be even existing without education. Like, can you imagine a pilot without education? That's really impossible to even think about. Or somebody working in spaceship without education? No. My last point about the formal education will be it reduces inequality. Like my the first laptop that I have ever tested was in the school using the paint, and there are many other schemes in our own nation, like Beti Padhao, Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, which ensures that everybody gets a free education till the year of 14. So this makes us all in a similar environment, and there's no inequality in that perspective. So these are my strong claims why I believe that formal education is very important. Now let me go to the informal side. Now education is not just about classes, it's about life. Okay, the whole world is a school, and life is the teacher. This is a very famous saying, and you have so many things to learn from life, maybe through many people including your parents, and also through nature. You learn a lot through nature. So I would strongly believe that education does not just lie in the formal side but also to the informal side. Like from the time I learned about left and right shoes, left and right hand, which hand to eat food, and training myself to using chopsticks. I think learning, it never stops, and that's what the whole beauty is in. So with all these claims, with all the both-sided themes, I rest my case stating that education is the most powerful weapon which you could use to change the world, mentioned by Nelson Mandela. And I rest my case. Over to Sahani. Thank you.
First of all, I would like to say that was a very strong start on your part, and it just set the tone for the whole debate, honestly. Also, coming to some of the points that you mentioned, uh, really great reasoning as to why you think education is important, how it has impacted countries, global nations, and everything. And these were your formal points. But when you came to your informal points, so to speak, it sort of aligns with what I'm going to be going forward and speaking about in this debate. So, for me, right, first and foremost, when I think of education, I first of all think of traditional schooling. And traditional schooling is just one type of learning. But there is no one type of learning. Like you said it yourself, the whole world is a school and learning never really stops. Different types of learning could include skill sets, creativity, and life experience, which often matter more actually. Now, education, where did this really start from? um, Formal education did not exist before. Like it only existed for the elites, right? The Greek philosophers or Indian scholars, monasteries in Europe. But it's actually around the 18th to 19th century in the industrial development phase where the world actually started recognizing that okay, we can start from formal education system, but we can train small kids to actually develop them like certain specific skills which can be used for labor work because that was the industrial age and that was the main application of education back then. But the thing is, even though education was made for that particular application, it still exists in the same form today, whereas it should have been changed at some point because now we are not in the industrial era anymore. We don't need to make skilled workers like a factory. We're manufacturing students at this point. And like you said, there's one set path. So coming into some other points, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, they all dropped out of college. Yet they became the most famous and world-changing innovators. Then employers and industries value skills and problem solving more than formal degrees. Education can create followers but not leaders. Leadership is something that comes out of experience working with people, working in teams, not because you went to school. Then there are certain things that I feel like schools kind of take a step back and they fail at teaching students really well. One is financial literacy, second is communication skills, and third is emotional intelligence. And we also have very, very common things that we see in India like stress, depression, rat race. We are familiar with what happens after JEE. This is often when education creates this mentality among students that there is only one path to follow. Whereas real life is not like that. There are alternative paths as well. But I feel like today's education misleads students into believing that there's just one decided path. And if you don't follow it, you're probably a failure. Uh, Education, okay, so I would like to end my introduction by this sentence. Education can help, but it is not necessary. Human progress has always come from curiosity, innovation, and skills. This is what I believe. So we can begin with the rebuttal.
Yeah, rebuttal phase. You could go with the question.
You can ask a question first.
Okay, Swani, why do you think, like, as the World Bank states, that countries who invest more in education have faster innovation and faster growth rate? So, do you think this claim is wrong?
Um, I can't say it's wrong because if the World Bank is saying it, obviously they have some data and statistics to back this up. But you asked me why I think that is, and I think it's because education, like I said, it was mainly meant to create skilled workers eventually. You teach them a certain fixed amount of things, and you also set a part for them. They finish their school, which is 10 years of education, then they do their 11th and 12th, and then they pick whichever particular sector they want to go into, say finance or engineering or medicine. And then they become workers in that particular field. So, yes, these humans are not like liabilities in society. They are helping with the increase of GDP and services. So maybe that's what's helping with the national economy.
You have any question?
Yes. Okay, so one of your earliest points that you mentioned was education or schooling actually creates this structured path to cover topics that we wouldn't have ourselves.
Hmm.
I first I'll comment saying I don't think that's completely true because while yes, our awareness about what we can study like math, bio, physics increased in school, really like all the extra stuff we learned was by our own selves because we went on the internet and explored and we were lucky to have internet. Today's kids are even luckier to have ChatGPT. So when you say that these are topics we wouldn't have explored ourselves, I feel like if the kid is interested enough, you have the curiosity to learn, people will explore things by themselves. But the question that I wanted to ask was when you said it creates a structured path, like let's take one subject, for example, mathematics. Do you think it's better for a student to learn math the way it's taught in schools in that structured path? Or would a student have learned better if things were not just handed to them? Like, okay, this is what a square plus b square is equal to c square looks like. What if they were allowed to experiment with it and figure out how math actually works, how it came about, how this equation even works?
Yes. Okay, to answer that, I feel education is like a catalyst. It really helps you to go very quicker. And I think, as you have mentioned about maybe making student realize why a squared plus b squared is c squared. Just an example that you give. Maybe like there should be better types in which the education content is showcased to the children. And as you have mentioned, now there's AI, and I think the whole the it will be much faster, and there will be much better ways to circulate the content very easily. So I believe, I still believe that having structure is very much important. Like it also sets a motivation in you. Like most of our education, like coming from an engineering background, most of the learning happens one day before the exam. And thus what having structure means, like having a fear of a deadline, having a fear of an exam makes you learn. And but still, if you want to so I would say, like for majority it would help, but for a person who is very curious and who wants to have find much more deeper structure into the same stuff, which is like very less amount of people, for them many doors are open. For example, research and PhD, which also requires a certain amount of previous education. So I feel that is my answer to that.
Okay, fair enough. You leaned into the side where you said it depends on the person, right? Because we don't want to give the same kind of education to everybody. And I think that's a great point to cover actually. Because what I was going forward like with saying was that I personally feel like even mathematics, right,
Hmm.
is something maths is like the best way to learn is imagine you're entering a dark room, okay? And you have never visited this room before. You don't know what the room looks like, but the room is dark and you're let inside. Now you cannot see anything, but you're allowed to touch around and feel around and try to imagine what things are there in the room, where it is, what the room looks like. And then you turn the light on and see if what you thought was correct or what you learned from it. But the way we are taught, I feel like that is the right way to learn math, figuring out by yourself, because then you get to really know how math works. But in school, it's like they let us into the room with the light on already. We see how it is. And then we just know things, but we don't know why it is like that. And it's not just true for mathematics. I think a lot of daily life concepts that we see happening around us, most of us will be able to tell you, like, okay, this is happening. But when we really think about it, we don't know why it's happening or how it came about.
To answer that, maybe one deduction which I have had in your question is, you feel that education kills the curiosity. Am I right? But
Yes.
I would not really agree to that, because I feel it actually lays down a foundation for you so that you could work on more important stuff. Just imagine, we are like, we don't really tell students what Pythagoras theorem is, and we let maybe 1 year 2 year for them to realize what Pythagoras theorem is. I think that won't really help to build on from to what level we are having, and it won't really help us to match with the entire global people.
Yeah. So I guess your catalyst point really makes sense then because it's speeding up the process altogether.
Yes. Yeah. Do you have any questions?
Well, Uh, Maybe you could give me one question.
Don't you think education removes the inequality side? Like there might be so many people who don't really have access to, maybe even their parents are very poor and they can't really have time for them. Don't you feel it kills out entire inequality, even wealth, even money wise? Like I,
How does it like?
I would say that the first time I had used a computer was in the school. So there might be so many section of people who don't really have access to computers, but when we have education for them, like it's education is basically free, right? So don't you think there'll be more access, more reducing reduction in the inequality?
I think the government is doing a good job trying to get more people into the system, but you like have to agree that a lot of people in India, especially, are still not getting education. So I don't think it has eliminated inequality. But in terms of those people, yes, who did not have opportunities before, but they were somehow brought into the schooling system, and now they are learning more. It's a great opportunity for them.
So don't
But
you
it has not solved the problem of inequality because a lot of people still lack proper education or education altogether.
do you have any questions, Swani?
Yeah. You mentioned an interesting point that you cannot be a pilot without an education, or you cannot uh, be a space scientist without education. While that is true, the Wright brothers did not need an education to invent flight. And this is true for so many other people who have invented things out of innovation, curiosity, just plainly observing things around them without a formal degree. I mean, Elon Musk himself isn't really like a specialized space scientist or has so much in-depth knowledge on rockets. Did not before at least, and he did not go ahead and pursue like a degree in Harvard or something on the same thing before going into NASA or something. In fact, he just brought heavy books and read everything by himself, educated himself, like learned himself, and then he formed this huge company that is now like the world leader in this particular domain.
Uh,
So in this case, it's a good example of like education is not what caused this, but his own curiosity and ability to learn.
yes. I would say for that, yes. Whenever there's a term, whenever we take in consideration of invention, yes, a lot of people who ever invented something are like don't really have a particular degree as such, but we can't really say that they don't really have education as such. Like for example, you mentioned a lot of about. You mentioned gave an example of Steve Jobs who was dropout in college, but he wasn't dropout in school. Like you imagine,
Hmm.
like he had some knowledge, right? He had some like maybe basic understanding. I don't know how much knowledge he had, but we can't really say that having we can't neglect education completely for that. Yeah.
Yeah, we can't ignore education. There was some baseline education involved, agreed. I was just going into the line of questioning where it's like, whatever they ended up doing later in life, was their education relevant to what they did? Directly relevant. Baseline education, yeah, it improves a human altogether.
Yes. uh,
But okay, another point I'll bring up is okay, this was Steve Jobs and Mark Zuckerberg. They did have schooling education. There are still a lot of people in India who don't have schooling education also, but they have become shopkeepers, salesmen, business people without formal education, and they do quite well for themselves. They earn a lot of money as well. They're upstanding members of society in terms of your culture and discipline, they have those values as well without an education.
uh,
So, what would you like to say about that?
I think it is like a chain reaction. Like if we think about the shopkeepers who don't maybe have a formal education, but they have some education. It's not like completely no education. But if we
No,
consider,
I'm talking about people who don't have education at all.
okay, if they don't really have an education, if they are selling maybe a product of X company, that X company will obviously the CEO or the whoever is working in that company will have some education, right? And if we even take the example of maybe you had one example of Elon Musk in the previous question, like even for like recruiting, I think they'll basically want people who have education or who have like in the field of the same like scope, right?
No, actually, to correct you, Elon Musk himself said this thing and it was a very popular sentence. He was like, I don't want a Harvard graduate.
Mhm.
I want somebody who has the skills and can solve this particular problem for me. I don't care what your education is. I don't care even if you don't have a degree. That's what Elon Musk had said once.
Okay.
Yeah. But I'm not talking about like salespersons like who work for a certain company. I'm saying typical Indian people who haven't had an education. They made this small little shop and they run that business for ages. Maybe they pass it down to their families. They're doing well for themselves and they didn't really need an education. And the country, like the GDP, is actually being run by such people all over India because they are the manufacturer of such goods and services.
Yes, yes. Yeah, to come back on that question, as I was mentioning about, like, they will be also selling certain items from other companies. Like, if you take shopkeeper only, they will be selling. I don't really have exact statistic what they'll be selling. Maybe Pepsi, maybe Coke, or maybe something, or some beverages, or maybe some notebooks, classmate. I think at the end, even they will have some CEOs. They will have some educated employees for those companies. So it is like the initiation is somewhere there, right?
Okay, so you're saying product making the product itself requires
Yes.
education.
Yes.
Okay.
Do you have any?
Okay. Another point you had mentioned was in school. That was the first time you used a computer and you learned. You started with Paint and MS. But did you, at any point in your schooling life, through education, not by yourself,
Mhm.
did you learn C, Python
Uh,
up until the 10th standard?
I would say no, and I have really not learned because maybe that time programming wasn't that I would say it was not that common for us to access at in our
Yeah.
school. But nowadays, as the time is going, I think programming is included in the curriculum nowadays. Like as the so
Correct. Now it is included. Yeah.
so
But that's because people recognize that this is an important tool that students need to know. But back in our time, like even in my time, we didn't have any of this during our schooling days.
Mhm.
But I had like seniors or friends, not all of them, very few people, but they were early on this trend. They knew that they had to learn coding. So
Mhm.
they were doing it by themselves. And by the time coding officially came into schools, these people were already experts at what they were doing. And this is a good example of where it was not education that was responsible for them knowing these coding skills or problem solving. They went out of their way to learn this by themselves.
So what do you think is the better alternative if otherwise?
Um, I'm not saying replace education.
Mhm.
Obviously, education has played an important role. Like you said, it's a catalyst, and everybody requires a baseline education. Even though most people actually, after their 30s or 40s, end up changing their whole career line. In fact, there are engineers right now, like us, our batchmates itself, who are saying they don't want to continue engineering, they don't want to do a job, they want to go into MBA or they want to open their own business,
Mhm.
or they want to do something else one day.
Yeah.
And in this case, education is not relevant to what they want to do. But that baseline education, you can't say that they did not require that.
Mhm.
So the alternative that I would suggest, I mean, I'm not suggesting an alternative actually. I'm just saying that education has its limitations, and humans have always found a way to overcome these limitations because we are smart animals and we have always had the curiosity to learn. Learning has never stopped for us. The world is a school. I'm using your sentences because they're true. And yeah, we have always just kept upskilling ourselves regardless of whether someone is forcing us to do it or not. If it was relevant to us, we will, is what I feel. And
Yes.
education needs the current like schooling system and whatever education system has been developed, it needs to keep updating itself. It's a good thing that this coding thing came in
Came in
schools.
school. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, to to answer even your previous question, I would say maybe yes, there should be many modification, as you have also mentioned. There should be a lot of updates in the school and the curriculum. Whereas I also feel, like people, when they change their stream completely, I think education also builds a lot of confidence in them, or maybe some networking. Just imagine if they have not had any network, like if they haven't maybe if they were at just home, not educating, doing everything as self study, they won't really have any much influence in their decision making later on. So I would say yes, the system needs to be updated, the education system needs to be updated, but we can't really say that education is not important.
Okay.
Do you have anything, or we could move on to next?
We can move on to the next.
Yes, feedback.
Uh, this was a much longer debate, right?
Yes, yes, it went much
Yeah.
better. Yes. Yeah, you do you have any feedbacks? I have one feedback, like for you, which is a
Sure.
good feedback. Like I ended
Okay.
ended onto like more in the life side, the informal education, which was again your point later on. But then you started very well,
Yeah.
giving clarity that I will also be going in that. That was really nice. And one good thing I liked about you today is, like, even though we had researched before, we had jotted down points, you looked a lot into the camera, and that is something which is very nice. Like you looked and then elaborated, which is really nice.
Thank you.
Maybe a negative
Uh,
feedback would be, you should have used better quotes or stats, like
yeah.
as we were doing research based, and that is maybe you could
Yeah.
cover it from next debate.
That is what I felt too. Like research based, I meant I wanted to bring up case studies, statistics, facts like that.
Yes,
But we were training for 20 minutes, and I personally didn't find that enough.
yes,
So
yes.
maybe next time we could take a bit longer.
Bit longer. Yeah, sure, sure, sure.
Yeah. So I leaned more into the logical arguments more than statistical or case study type of arguments.
Yes.
Uh, but still, I try to bring up a few examples like Elon Musk, Wright brothers,
Yes,
something
yes,
like
yes.
this.
Are that Elon Musk example? Even I was aware about the statement that like which went off. Like
Yeah,
he wanted more people from skills, but then I actually wanted to speak about like something very generic. But then Elon Musk came from my mouth, and I was like, it was foot in the mouth moment.
that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you made a good recovery at that point also. Yes.
Any feedback, positive, negative to me?
Positive, like I said, I loved your intro. Like it's one of the best intros I've seen. Like even in real life debates, but for competitions,
Yeah.
like yours was really good this time. And the other thing was one of the points that I brought up in between was something about I don't
Pythagoras.
remember now. It was sorry,
Pythagoras.
the structured way of learning, right?
Yes. Yes.
And I meant more of like, isn't it better to let somebody explore it by themselves? And you made such a good recovery from that. And you also described what structured learning meant to you, which was different from what I thought. So I feel like on both our sides, it was a good discussion more than an argument. Um yeah, and we brought up so many points this time. I feel like that was a good thing.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. Yeah.
There was variety in the debate this time.
Yeah, yeah, yes. Research debates are really helpful. Even you will learn a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Anything more to add, or can we, like?
We can move on to the next thing.
Yes. Next thing is basically group discussion. There's no ChatGPT phase because you already did it.
Okay.
What
Yeah.
do you feel like, is education really important? Like unbiased, okay?
Um,
Thinking,
okay.
yeah.
If I had to do like homeschooling versus learning up till 10th, I would choose learning up till 10th, like the formal education that we have done.
Hmm.
But beyond a point, like things I know today, even during debating, whatever points I bring up, the knowledge I have, it has not come from education. It has come from speaking to people, uh, debating or having discussions with fellow students or even older people, uh, sitting for interviews maybe, or just participating in competitions, things like this. So real life experiences is what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
Then the other thing, reading books, consuming content, even Instagram, people might think it's just a social media tool, but it's so much more than that actually.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, my overall knowledge base has come from one of these other sources,
Mm.
not education. But I would, like, if I had to pick between homeschooling and education, I would pick that.
Yeah. You would pick education.
Education.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
My answer. Yes, even I would agree to that. Most of the knowledge base, even the entire like college content, I understood more without education, and that is little unfortunate thing, and there should be a good like good system for that. And just for the structure and just for the catalyst nature, I would still pick education, but there's a lot to be changed.
Exactly.
Yes, there's a lot to be changed.
What you just said, right? Just for structure and catalyst, I agree with that wholly.
Yes, yes,
Even that's my reasoning for picking education, just because it's a great catalyst and it provides a structure.
exactly. But
And obviously, it has given us the ability to do assignments with deadlines.
yes,
That's a good,
yes.
yeah, skill to have.
And don't you feel like ChatGPT is like a blessing to all the students nowadays? Like they could just verify
Yeah,
whatever they
it
want.
is.
We like if we had any doubts.
But it honestly, that is a debate in itself. Like, are they benefiting from it, or are they just killing their curiosity at a much younger age?
Younger.
Because we had to struggle to learn that same thing.
Yes, yes. Okay, it might help a lot for teachers actually, like in a very positive manner. Like they could
Yeah,
bring a good ways
I
to
agree with this.
to
Like, I
understand.
don't want to badmouth teachers, but like in school, we didn't have the best teachers
Yes, yes.
till 10th at least. Yeah,
Maybe even
and a lot of them,
they did not have good resources. Like we can't really complain
exactly.
on them.
And
Yeah,
we can't complain on them, agreed.
yeah.
But they could definitely benefit from
Benefit
tools
from
like
it.
these.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a great discussion, Swani. Like, do you have anything to add to discuss, or can we end for today?
Uh, yeah, we can end for today.
Yes. Yeah, it was really great. I really enjoyed. Thanks for joining, Swani. Yes, and see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you. See you. Bye
Bye.
bye.
Bye. Bye.